How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. So let me get you guys up to speed as to what exactly is going on here, what the context is, and what this scene looks like. So, as I imagine things would be like, Keichi's parents are not home. They decided to go off to Tokyo, which is like 6+ hours away. So Keichi is alone, probably losing his damn mind, and it's nighttime. And I even called it, I swear, I called it that, things were most likely going to get bad or pick up whenever Keichi's parents are out. It's just how it is. It always happens. When the parents aren't here, that sense of security just suddenly disappears. So here comes Rena, after we were talking about Rena to Ushisan over the phone, or at least we were just about to. Rena comes over after being creepy earlier, and also after we lost our mind, and we're talking to her behind the door. So there's the chain lock, and we're kind of talking to her through like the small opening of the door, because the door, is still restricted by the chain. And I don't know, she's trying to put up this this casual talk here. So let's see what's going on here. I have a very bad feeling. I have a super bad feeling. However, it's a new episode. I'm not feeling freaked out yet, so we'll see how things go. No, I haven't eaten. Since my mom wasn't there, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I laid down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all that time talking. I was going to have cup noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to.
いや、まだだよ。それがどうしたよ。
じゃあよかった。これ見て。お惣菜とか持ってきてあげたの。
Rena held out a stack of boxes wrapped in a cloth.
お台所とか貸してくれれば、お味噌汁も温めてあげられるよ。
Yeah, but that requires you to, entering the household, which I don't feel really safe doing or allowing.
いいよ、そこまでしてくれなくても。
でも、お豆腐もお野菜もたっぷりなの。ケイチ君、そういうの嫌いかな。
We also need to remember that the last time she quote-unquote made something for us, there was a needle in it. There's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock root and potatoes, dense and fibrous root vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible.
ご飯も持ってきてあげたから、レンジで温めればすぐ食べられるし。
I'm a big-ass sucker for rice, I'm not gonna lie. Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping miso soup in between ravenous bites. Oh yes, how wonderful it is to be born Japanese.
それからね、またお漬物を作ってきたんだよ。今度は山菜のお漬物なの。
Before I had moved here to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetables called sansai. Sansai? Yeah, let's go with that. But I was captivated by their charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep, yet light flavor. Those so-called supermarket vegetables taste rough and overpowering in comparison. If you had to describe them, then they were the vegetables for the uninitiated. To become an expert, such as myself, you first had to partake in sansai. I don't really know how to properly pronounce that, so hopefully I'm doing an okay job of that. It was common knowledge around here that the Ryugu family's traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. No matter what kind of pickles they were, they'd go so well with that fluffy white rice.
それからね。
But wait, there's more! So delicious, it just seems so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self, who said he'd make do with cup noodles. Rena appeared to be in good spirits, and she was offering such a delicious-sounding dinner. The stress evaporated from my gut, and hunger reared its voracious head. At the same time, my wariness of Rena suddenly dwindled. Rena did say she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside, but I don't know about that, John. I really don't. Though the possibility that it was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. At that moment, a cold chill ran down my spine once again. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then, but the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. This happy Rena speaking of this charming dinner was dependent on one premise, and that premise was that tonight, dinner hadn't been made at my house, meaning it was under the assumption that my mom, who should be making it, wasn't here. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be around the middle of dinner time. If my mom were here, we'd be eating dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Unless she knew. Rena, did she know that my parents weren't home? But there was also the chance that this was a bluff. I had turned on the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance that Rena was unsure if my parents were home. But I had to wonder. The laundry, the garage, the evening paper. There were plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It was hard to say that Rena didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were here or not. But there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to that fact as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Rena wouldn't be able to do anything to me. Yeah, hopefully. She pulls out a gun on us.
ありがたいんだけどさ、もう少しで夕飯ができるみたいなんだよ。
Well, here's another thing. She could have been like watching us do this, like watching all the lights of the house get turned on, watching as we, hurriedly brought in the laundry and got the paper and, closed the garage and all that.
そうなの？そうなの？
せっかくで申し訳ないんだけどさ、
Unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly.
でも、ちょっとはおかずになると思うな。
悪いけど間に合ってるよ。うちのお袋ってさ、結構おかずをいっぱい作るんだよ。だから。
おかずあるの？
With a smile that bordered on a cringe, I dodged her questions apologetically. But the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mom was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Rena was saying. Rena was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact. And that, I was aware of it. I was aware of it as well.
ケイチ君もおかずとか作れるんだね。何を作ったのかな？
いや、別に俺が。
Rena had assumed out of nowhere that I had made the dishes. No, not so much that I'd made them, but rather that my mom hadn't.
本当に作ったの？おかず。ケイチ君が？
だから、俺が作ったんじゃないよ。お袋が作った。いや、作ってるんだよ。今。だからさ、悪いけど、レナの持ってきてくれたのは食べられないんだよ。
Bro, she's gonna do that, you're lying thing again and blow out my eardrums and scare me. Rena fell silent at that moment. At that moment, I felt that the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes. Uh-oh.
ケイチ君のお夕飯、当ててみようか？
なんだっていいじゃないか。
Bro, if she guesses the fucking noodles, the ramen or whatever. Oh no.
ね。
The conversation might appear natural at first glance, but Rena was firmly in control. I felt that I was being interrogated.
そのお夕飯、お湯だけで作れるんじゃないかな。
Oh no.
おいおい、侮るなよ。うちのお袋のスペシャルなディナーを見くびるなってんだ。そりゃもう満願全席状態ですごいのなんの。
I tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grip my teeth quite right. So instead, I looked like someone who was borderline hysterical. But Rena showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness.
ケイチ君、本当にお母さん、ご飯作ってってくれたの？
She knows that she's not here.
いや、だから、くれたんじゃなくて、今作ってるんだよ。もうすぐ晩飯に。
Rena had taken that assertion, of mine, that my mother was home and making dinner right now and was completely ignoring it. I could tell that that the more I panicked, the colder Rena became.
ねえ、ケイチ君。
Yo, where's the music? At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept in from the gap in the doorway.
お母さん、お家にいるのかなかな
Maybe? I couldn't keep up the charade anymore. Rena, she knew full well that my parents weren't home. But I'd come too far to admit that now. Anyway, my parents were here, and we'd be having dinner soon. That was the situation I had concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here.
いるよ。もちろん。
I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. Rena's eyes were becoming even more frigid, piercing me with their gelid glare. Oh
ど
no.
うして
Oh no.
何のことかな
I tried acting casual, but that facade was torn off me the instant I looked into Rena's eyes. That look, it informed me of Rena's response faster than she could open her mouth.
ど
Uh-oh.
うしてさっきから嘘をつくのかなかな
嘘なんか。
嘘だよね。
嘘なんかじゃ。
嘘だよ
Uh-oh. Rena's outburst sent a jolt surging through my body. Rena and I were still separated by what few inches that slightly ajar, but still chained door could afford. But despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I'd considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alleyway where no one can save me.
ケイチ君のお夕飯当てるよ。ね
I knew now that Rena had already known that my parents would not be here tonight. But it was still so strange that it had come to this. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, there was no way she should be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. But Rena said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know it was in—
カップラーメン当たりでしょ
I didn't click to the next thing, but that worked. Oh no. The cooking repertoire of a man who can't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it was the most probable answer. That didn't mean she was guessing.
ラーメンだけじゃきっとお腹すくと思うな。ご飯とかも一緒の方がきっと腹持ちいいと思うよ。
I mean, you're not wrong. Like, you're definitely telling the truth here. Calm down, Keichi, my bruh. This was just coincidence. Rena was just reading certain tells of mine. So the fact that she was inferring what I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she was actually reading my mind. It was if it was being read, then she was a demon. Sorry. No, not a demon. Things like that. They couldn't possibly exist.
好きなの
ラーメンがかよ。
豚骨生姜味。
Yo, can you, say that again? Rena indicated that the point my answer was addressing was wrong. Her rebuttal was so short that I momentarily didn't understand the words Rena had spoken. I don't even know what the hell she said.
ごめん、レナ。今、なんて。
え何が
今さ、何が好きって聞いたんだよ。
It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I'd pushed forward with that question. It was such a simple answer. That was why I wasn't able to comprehend it. Uh-oh, uh-oh.
豚骨生姜味。
Oh no. She guessed the exact flavor that he likes. I wonder how I appeared in the moments my mind went completely blank until the moment I was able to recover. As my field of view began to distort, slowly swirling in a counterclockwise direction, I lost all sense of balance.
なんでそこまでわかるんだよ
I didn't even deny it. That was the type of frenzied state I was in. How could Rena know even this? Not even caring as I mashed my head against the door, I fixated my gaze on Rena. But she didn't even flinch when she saw me do that.
確かに勝った。まとめて勝った。俺が箱買いした。それがどうしてわかるんだ
なんでかな不思議だね。
Yeah, it is strange. That's why we're asking. Can you, like, you know, answer the question instead of just asking more questions? Like it's all a riddle? How could you dodge the question at a time like this? The chain and the door suddenly were no longer protecting me.
どうしてわかる？なぜ知ってる？答えろ！
買ったのはセブンスマートだよね。
A shiver ran up my spine. I tried covering it up with an angry facade.
だから、なんでわかるんだよ！
ケイチ君の後ろずっとくっついてたから。
That's always nice.
何を言ってんだよ。
I couldn't understand why she was saying she'd been following me all this time.
だからレナがケイチ君の後ろにずっとくっついてたの。
That wasn't just a hee hee. That was a masterful laugh. Like that night? That night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Ushisan. I didn't even sense her being there, standing behind the door, behind me, standing there, just like that.
ケイチ君がいろんなラーメン選んでるとこ、後ろからずっと見てたの。いろんな種類を選んでたんだよね。それでお母さんに怒られたの。高いラーメンばっかり選ぶから一種類にしなさいって。それでケイチ君大好きな大きいカップの豚骨生姜味を選んだんだよね。レナも好きだよ、豚骨ラーメン。でも大きいカップは全部食べきれないけどね。
My brain was paralyzed, dulling my senses. It might have been a defense mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling to non-traumatizing levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog enveloping my mind was cleared away. Then I could understand what Rena was saying, and started to put meaning behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed so I didn't have to look down. I didn't actually solve any of the basic problems. I slowly took a step backwards. And as I withdrew, Rena advanced.
だからケイチ君、ここを開けて。
No.
レナと一緒にご飯食べよう。
I don't want to do that.
きっと美味しいから。ね。
Okay, well the mochi wasn't delicious. Well, I guess it was. Uh-oh. That's not good. Rena's pale, slender fingers squirmed through the crack in the door, one at a time, as if they had a mind of their own, rattling the chain. If she had unlatched the chain from the door, a feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Rena didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. I tried my hardest to light the fuse to the powder keg in my heart, trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light.
開けて、ケイチ君。
I don't want to do that.
帰ってくれ。頼むから。帰ってくれ。
どうしてそんな意地悪を言うのかな。かな。
帰ってくれ。帰れよ。帰れ。
The powder keg inside me finally went off. No smoldering, it just exploded. I tackled the door. The force through the door had knocked Rena momentarily off balance. I couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed onto the doorknob with both hands, planted my feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. But that slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. Oh no. I could feel a tiny, disturbing bit of resistance keeping the door from closing. And the source of that was Rena's fingers. Oh god. We're smashing her fingers in the door right now. Is that what's going on here? Dude, that's gotta hurt. Each of those fingers wriggling, squirming around like the tendrils of a carnivorous plant through the crack in the doorway.
痛いよ、ケイチ君。痛い。
It wasn't a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp that she was trying to keep back.
帰れ。帰れ。帰れ。
I kept on pulling on the door with all my might. I didn't even realize that if I didn't loosen my pull on the door at least momentarily, Rena wouldn't be able to pull her fingers out, and that was why the door wasn't closing.
本当に痛いの、ケイチ君。悪ふざけが過ぎたなら謝るよ。
You really call that messing around? Dog, come on. I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologized, it didn't change any of what she had done up until now. It didn't change anything.
痛 の痛いの。ごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさい。
帰れ帰れ帰れ
Rena couldn't leave even if she wanted to because I trapped her fingers. Rena's white fingers had become deep red and were no longer even squirming.
ごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさい。
帰れ帰れ帰れ
ごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさい。
Bro, this is
ごめんなさい。
this is wild. Rena's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain, but like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. Go away, go away, go away, stop it, stop it, stop it. I pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Rena's fingers were somehow able to slip out from their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed soundly and I could hear the thud of Rena falling on her butt on the other side. I locked the door immediately. I made a loud clunk, voicing my rejection to Rena.
ごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさい。ケイチくんごめんなさい。ここを開けて。
What the fuck? No. Rena leaned against the door, apologizing profusely and nothing else. After confirming that I was sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away from the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Rena echoing her apology. I'm sorry, those pitiful words, they would be forever seeking my forgiveness. I didn't feel bad about this at all. But that wasn't out of any sort of malice. I felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Rena. Before, Mion had threatened me at this doorway, saying there was nothing she didn't know. And just now, at the same place, Rena told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise the fact my parents weren't home had served no purpose from the start. I should have just pretended to be out, and not even opened the door. My meager plans hadn't helped at all. In Hinamizawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I wanted to get as far away from Rena as possible. 1 step, 2 steps. With each one, her sniveling apologies became more distant. Hell yeah. I sprinted up the stairs and dove into my room. Let's get away from that wacky ass bitch. As you would expect, I was no longer able to hear Rena repeating her endless apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the hard lump I felt. There was something in my bed? Yeah, the phone. Oh, yeah, it was the receiver. I finally remembered. I was in the middle of a call with Ushisan. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. Could it be that my clock had run out of batteries? I had talked with Rena for so long, how did almost no time pass? But the hand on the clock was ticking forward 1 second every second as usual. As I put the still warm receiver to my ear, time, which felt frozen, began moving once again.
もしもし、大石さん、お待たせしてすみませんでした。
いえいえ、大してお待ちしていませんよ。
It became apparent that the amount of time that had passed between myself and Ushisan was different. Over the phone, I could hear an energetic voice from a sports program or something, and drove home just how far away Ushisan really was.
今、レナが来ました。
遊びに来たんですか?
I wasn't confident that I could coherently explain the situation to Ushisan. But I didn't need to right now. Right now, I needed to know about Rena. That's right, I was planning to ask Ushisan more about Rena, but Rena's little visit had interrupted the conversation. What was true and what was false, I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was the single grim reality that Rena was suspicious. I might be able to figure something out if I asked Ushisan about her. Up until now, I had regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things that I was better off not knowing. But looking at it that way, you could say I'd hit rock bottom. There was no possible way I could feel any more regret than I did right now. No, rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this I would regret more. Forget about tomorrow. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility for something to happen tonight. I wanted to know everything I could. I was absolutely not going to die like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't.
竜宮レナさんのことですか? 調べましたよ。まあ簡単には。
I understood that Ushisan was talking in circles. A bit meant I dug so deep it'd be hard to discuss with you since you're her friend.
その簡単な全てを知りたいんです。
あなたが聞いて面白いような話はありませんよ。
大石さん、
I spoke as calmly as possible to Ushisan, who was continuing to avoid the issue. And then I said it.
竜宮レナは怪しいと思っています。過去の事件がたとえお社様のたたりによるものだったにせよ、竜宮レナは関わっています。
レナさんが怪しいと思える具体的な証拠があるのですか？
Her trying to get into our house? The manner in which Ushisan spoke became very firm. Do you have some sort of proof? That was him talking as a detective.
状況証拠だけです。
そうですか。
I could tell even over the phone how disappointed Ushisan was. Pulling on the fishing line when he felt a bite, only to reel in the bait. Disappointed but ready to cast the line once more? That's how it seemed.
大石さん、目に見える証拠がなければ動けないんですか？
What I meant was, you can't come and save me without proof. I stuck that barb in there, as Ushisan loved roundabout ways of saying things. He understood me just fine.
大丈夫ですよ、前原さん。あなたは私が守ります。
And that was not the least bit reassuring. Ushisan was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to be killed, and my corpse would be an important piece of evidence. That was all I was to him.
大石さんの捜査は俺の生死と無関係でしょうが、俺は死ねば終わりなんです。
Well, yeah. Ushisan went silent on the other end of the line. That may have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed to relay to Ushisan was that I was currently in a very dangerous position.
だから話してください、レナのこと。サトシは転校しました。多分俺もそれほど遠くない将来、レナの言う転校をするでしょう。ですが大石さんには俺の死体を見つけることもできないでしょうね。現にサトシの死体だってまだ見つけられてない。
前原さん、どうか落ち着いて。
I was already suppressing my agitation, even without Ushisan having to tell me. It wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust in the police. It would seem that I can only depend on myself and the bat Satoshi left behind to protect me. Then I at least wanted to know about what happened before Rena transferred schools.
つまらない話になるのは覚悟の上ですね。
Ushisan, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved.
今の俺にとってつまらない話は何一つありません。お願いします。
まずいくつかお断りすることがあります。
はい。
他言無用でお願いします。また内容には一部憶測も含まれているかもしれません。すべてが真実ではないかもしれないということです。よろしいですね。
真実ではないかもしれない。言ってる意味がよくわかりません。
Hinamizawaの連続開始事件は捜査本部がありません。毎年の事件は個々に扱われています。ですから竜宮レナが捜査線に浮上したことは一度もないのです。つまりですね、
レナの調査は警察としてでなく個人として行ったということですか？
ご理解いただけて助かります。話のほとんどは電話、もしくは会って聞かせてもらったものばかりです。ですから裏が取れていません。鵜呑みにしないでほしいということなんですよ。ご理解いただけますね。
全部聞いた話だけなんですか？
申し訳ないです。個人調査ですのでね。
あれ、以前レナのカルテを見たって言いませんでしたか？確かにそう聞きましたよ。
Ushisan paused for a moment on the other end of the line.
そんなことも言いましたかね。気のせいということにしてください。
I didn't care about Ushisan having certain obligations and responsibilities. I also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if they were just rumors, there's no smoke without fire after all.
話してください、大石さん。
わかりました。
Ushisan finally opened those tight lips of his. And it seemed that Rena lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago. She had moved to Ibaraki Prefecture just before starting elementary school. Then, following that, right after transferring, the unfortunate incident with the breaking of the school windows happened. And then Rena confided to the doctor it was Oyashiro-sama. And this was everything I knew.
私が知る話も前原さんと大きくは変わりません。
では、どこを詳しく調べたんですか？
I didn't need to ask. It was the incident right before she transferred back to Hinamizawa.
レナが起こした事件と、その後の医者での告白ですね。
はい。
大石さんは、その内容を知っているからこそ、レナたちを疑っているんですね。
ええ、疑っています。
やはり、レナたちが犯人。
ああ、いえ、疑うとはそういう意味ではないんです。
Huh? Ushisan was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring.
じゃあ、何を疑ってるんですか？
親代様ですよ。
え？
親代様のたたりって本当にあるのかな？なんてまあ。
Ushisan's laugh was quite dry, certainly not the kind that would make you want to join in. Ushisan resumed the conversation about the dubious circumstances behind Satoshi's disappearance, the course of events leading him to delve into Rena's past. Just then, there was thunder in the distance and a heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning, a downpour fiercely beating the ground. I had left the window in my room open a crack to let the heat out. The violent wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap wildly.
どうしました？
あ、いえ、急にすごい雨が。すみません。どうぞ続けてください。
Yeah, that really came out of nowhere. I got up while still on the phone and grasped the window.
はじめに事件と申し上げましたが、学校側も被害者も告発していないので、正式には事件ではないのです。でですね。この辺りがどうも関係者皆さん口が重いんですよ。被害者の一人は片目に後遺症を残すぐらい殴られているのにもかかわらずです。
Uh-oh.
学校側か、もしくは表沙汰になるのを望まない何者かがいろいろ根回しをしたのかもしれませんね。
It could have been the school.
またカウンセリングを担当した神経科医も職業倫理に厳格な方で。もしもし、前原さん、聞こえてます？
Yeah, wait, why are we not responding? There was the figure of a person standing by the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In the shower, which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped down from her hair. She's still out there. She's still out there. Jesus Christ. And her fingers, oh no. Just standing there, both arms dangling at her side. In one hand was the stack of boxes wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room, focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth was methodically repeating a chewing motion. It was as if she had something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffing out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be that at this time, I was more enthralled by Rena instead of the shocking developments being brought to light by Ushisan? If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. Then I wouldn't have noticed Rena, nor would I have noticed that Rena's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something. She was repeating something. What was it? She was repeating? To me. What was she saying? And why was I, right up against the window, fixated on her?
もしもし、前原さん、聞こえてますか？もしもーし。
ごめんなさい。
え、前原さん？
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Okay, we good?
もしもし、前原さん、どうしましたか？
Even in this torrential downpour, Rena was still apologizing. Oh, I thought she was actually repeating everything that Ushisan was saying. That was gonna creep me the fuck out if that was the case. The other self inside me drew the curtain hastily with my right hand, blocking my view to the outside. But even doing that, Rena's relentless apologies still reach my ears. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I forgive you for this, will you forgive me for that? Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I'm sorry. 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 Damn it. Why should I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. I won't forgive. 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 I won't forgive.
前原さん、聞こえてるなら返事をしてください。もしもーし。
Yeah, are we gonna get back to him here? Nope, I guess we're just gonna end this chapter. Holy shit, man. Oh, man. I'm not really spooked, but I'm just dumbfounded by Rena and her actions. Here we go. Here's some tips. Did we not get an achievement this time? Up there it is. Rain of Apologies. Nice. Alright, let's view these tips. Oh, God. So split personality and the 7th Mart. Oh, I can't wait to see what's going on there. Alright, let's check this one out first.
よく映画などに登場しますが、簡単に言うとどのようなものでしょうか。
複数の人格を持つことによる逃避と考えられています。
多重人格は逃避の一つなのですか？
さようです。そのメカニズムは完全には解明されていませんが、精神を守るために脳が行う防御行動の一つではないかと考えられています。
例えば貧乏な人がお金持ちになった自分を想像するという現実逃避ってありますよね。これも多重人格なわけですか？
極論はできませんが、講義的にはそう解釈できます。つまり誰にでもあり得る現象なのです。
その現実逃避の見境がなくなると二重人格になるのですか？
ちょっと難しいですね。そう提唱する説もありますし、否定する説もあります。諸説紛々です。
では精神医学の世界ではまだ多重人格というのは未知の解明されていない現象なんですか？
残念ながらそうなります。今後の研究が期待されます。
でも二重人格なんてなんだかかっこいいですよね。どういう人が二重人格になれるんですか？
なれると言いますか、なりやすいと言いますか。最近の研究では遺伝と死因が複雑に絡み合い、中でも幼少期の育児体験が大きく作用するのではないかと言われています。
Huh, I didn't know that.
そういえばこの A 君も家庭に問題を抱えてるんですよね。気の毒に7つの人格を持つ青年 A。 では VTR の続きをどうぞ。ですがその前にコマーシ
God
ャル。
damn it. Well, I mean, the thumbnail for this was a TV, so I guess that was like a documentary or just some television program that gets thrown up on a channel that's full of commercials. Alright, so this will be a fun tip. The 7th Mart was a bargain supermarket with food and alcohol. I flopped the colorful collection of cup noodle bowls into the cart, muttering in irritation at being rushed by my parents. As expected, Mom gave a disbelieving look and asked why I had gotten so many flavors.
最近のカップ麺は凝ってて種類も多いんだよ。どれも一通りは食ってみたいし。
I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Looking displeased at the sheer amount at the number of different varieties, Dad told me to go get a multi-pack instead of individual ones. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. Now that Dad had thrown his hat into the ring, I'd have to compromise.
それじゃあ一種類しか食えないよ。飽きちゃうって。
I was resisting as a formality. I had already given up inside and wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. Mom and Dad were already waiting in line, calling for me as I struggled with the decision. The line is short and there isn't much time. Left with no choice, I quickly searched the cases of noodles for what I want. When in trouble, that's it, pork bone and ginger extra large. If I let Mom pick, she'd err on the side of safety and get soy sauce or salt flavored. So when I plunked a large box of pork bone flavor in the shopping cart, Mom looked back at me with an expression as if to say, "These ones?" To show her this was my last compromise, I began explaining the choice.
豚骨はうまいんだよ。大盛りだけど大味ってわけじゃないし。
I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. And I guess this entire time, yeah. In this frozen memory in time, this encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings. So I did what I could and reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Rena. I rewound the situation, searching. But of course I couldn't find her. Yeah, I don't know. She must have either been from super far away. Well, no, I guess she couldn't because she heard the conversation. She was able to tell us like a commentator giving us the play-by-play of what was being said and what were the actions, what were the course of events. So I don't think she could be that far away. Was she spying at me from my blind spot? I go through the sound and presences again looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way and no one trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice if someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. Well, here's another thing. Uh-oh. Then I paused my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror unlike any other. If a presence really had manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles. Running through the instant noodles section, bad-mouthing my mom. But there was that presence constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. Realizing it now after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment of time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box, tip-tap, but listening to that moment again, I could hear footsteps other than mine going pit-pat with every step. Tip-tap, tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Okay, we get the picture here. We really do. I understand. While I was running, the sound of those barefoot footsteps going pit-pat were right behind me. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it, and that's why I remembered it. I didn't think I had heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That is why I didn't turn around. In that moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run any faster than I had ran at that time. I couldn't turn around. I hadn't turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That is why it made no sound. That was all. At the time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. That shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. I wanted to end it. Someone turn on the light. Except my body couldn't move. As if it was sewn, or if I was sewn into that moment in time. Pit-pat. My past self's hair stood on end. That's impossible. Now that's just breaking the rules. I hadn't moved. So you shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move. So you shouldn't be able to move either. Follow the rules. Pit-pat. Yet that sound echoed in the darkness once again. The hair on my back, or on the back of my neck, pricked up on end. Why the fuck did I open the menu? It was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move, like how the presence was moving behind me? I quickly realized I could move, It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment in time, but I needed to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, it began to administer a pain like a needle being stuck into my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalize. Yeah. I turned around. At first I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What is this? Just as a person's mouth might bite into an apple, slurp the juices, and finally discover that it was an apple, my mind began to process the scene before my eyes by eating the apple. Munch, munch, chew, chew. What the fuck is happening? What was in front of me was... Yeah, it was that. Well, okay. Interesting. Well, we just got an achievement. I think that was all of the tips, because it said detective. So that could mean something. Alrighty, well, we're gonna save the game here. End of chapter 11. I want to say that we're getting close to the end. I mean, if that was the last tip of chapter 1 here, of the game chapter 1, then I believe we are nearing the end. So, we'll stop it here. Thank you all for watching this episode. Nothing too crazy, I think. Just Rena being a crazy bitch. That's okay. We slammed her fingers in the door, and now she's very apologetic. That could be a good thing. It's probably not. It's probably a very bad thing. So can't wait for seeing how that all works out in the end. And thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, subscribe, any of that other fancy jazz if you'd like. And we'll see you guys in the next one. I think the creepiness will just continue on, so I'll cross my fingers and hope that it's nothing too crazy. And I'll see you guys then. Take it easy.